Get Gutsy episode number 138 with Mridu Parikh on leaning versus learning. Welcome to Get Gutsy. I'm your host, Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. A cutting-edge show blending business and spirituality, Get Gutsy serves up a potent blend of stories, lessons, and tips to help you make a massive impact in the world through your soul's work and your inspired life. No more going it alone, no more excuses. The world needs more brave women saying yes to leadership. Are you with me? Good. Let's get gutsy now. Hey there, Jenny here. Welcome to Get Gutsy. Oh my gosh, excited to talk to you today. Listen, I'm back from India. I'm recording this intro after my return, and I still have in the works a really great solo episode for you about my journey. I was going to do that last week, and then you know what? Just wasn't going to happen. Self-care was where it was at. I needed to re-enter. I needed some more time to process, and I also turned 40 on May 23rd. So I'm putting together something special for you. It's coming out soon, so keep your eyes open. I like my solos, and you're going to enjoy this one. I also am going to be doing a few solos in the month of June. Got some things I want to say to you, and I'm going to say it to you during the month of June, which is also the month that we're introducing our coaching school. Not introducing, but reopening enrollment. We will be accepting applications for our epic coaching school for spiritual healers and creatives who are ready to walk this road of a coach. So keep your ears open on that and make sure you're on our wait list, coachtrainingschool.com, to be the first one to know when applications are available. And if you go there and applications are available, then check it out and see if you want to apply, coachtrainingschool.com. We're going to a whole nother level with this next class of our coaching school, and I am so thrilled. I was very inspired by what I experienced in India, and I'm ready to just do this thing in a much deeper way in terms of how I serve and who I serve and what we do together. Listen, today you're going to get so much juice out of this conversation with Mridu Parikh. She is Indian, which just makes me think about India even more, and I'll never be able to forget that place. And we go really deep during this conversation. We talk about your daily routine, if it's helping you or holding you back, how to figure out what you're good at, and you're going to just be very inspired by Mridu's journey. She has made some super gutsy moves, like moving from New York City to Nashville, totally changing careers, becoming a stay-at-home mom, and then realizing, wait, I have other things that I want to do in addition to motherhood. She started several businesses. She's made lots of evolutions and twists and turns, and has some great insight for you around your daily routine and some details around how you want to be showing up every single day. So get excited. Mridu is a productivity and organization coach, and she's really passionate about helping you work smarter, not harder, without feeling overwhelmed. I do want to give you a heads up on this that the audio is a little funkified. Sometimes it feels like a little dead air for parts of the conversation, but it won't bother you. Just stay with it and trust that the wisdom that is shared within the conversation is going to help you shift and be all you were designed to be. So without further ado, I turn it over to this next episode of Get Gutsy with Mridu Parikh on leaning versus learning. Enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome back to Get Gutsy. Super pumped to have you here. You know how we go down here. We just have these amazing conversations served up to you every week to keep you inspired, to keep you motivated, to keep you putting one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. That's just what it is. And I'm actually just thinking about that because, I'm working with my oldest son right now, especially, and we're homeschooling him. He's in second grade. This was totally a curveball that was served up to us several months back. And we're going through a world of curriculum. And the story that we read this week was the tortoise and the hare. And it was, just that one foot in front of the other. Steady determination, steady determination. So I hope that this show is giving you that steady determination to keep going forward towards your goals. So let me introduce our guest today. We are going to, of course, have an amazing chat. You all get that inside scoop on how to do this thing called business, called life, and keep your sanity somewhat intact through the process. So her name is Mridu Parikh. We practice that. She's got one of these like amazingly unique names that, if we were in India, it'd be just like whatevs, but here in America, for me, it's unique. So Mridu Parikh helps ambitious women juggling multiple roles and responsibilities focus their time and energy on what matters most, a productivity and organization coach. She's passionate about working smarter, not harder. Oh yeah, that's my thing too, without feeling overwhelmed. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Jenny.
Yeah, going to have a blast here. So where are you based?
I'm out in Nashville, Tennessee, originally from New York, but this is home now. I've been here for 11 years.
Wow. What brought you to Tennessee?
So my husband's job at the time, but I preface that by saying I grew up in New York, about 45 minutes outside of the city.
Where, Long Island, Westchester, Jersey?
Yeah, Westchester.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, if you're in New York or LA, like the whole world revolves around you. You don't know anything else.
Right.
There's even a life outside of that. So never thought I'd move. All my roots, family, friends, everything was there. And when he got this job opportunity in Nashville, I was like, no way. Like, we were laughing about it. I was putting on like a cowboy hat. Like, I had no idea. And plus, this was 12 years ago, when it was not the it city it is now. It's not like the cool place. It was like nothing. I pictured a plantation. But because I was working, and I bet a lot of, your audience can relate to this. I was working a 12-hour-a-day corporate job in New York with a 1-year-old that I never saw that was being raised by my nanny.
Right.
I was like, well, and the magic words were, at that time, which I thought were magic words, he said, well, you don't have to work if we go. And I was like, done, let's go.
Yeah,
let's go tomorrow.
Let's go.
Yeah.
When is the moving van coming? Okay, yeah. And so he got this job opportunity. What was your corporate job?
I was working in a marketing company, but it was direct marketing, so kind of direct mail, really, really intense. Sexy stuff, like you get, and you get to work on the outer envelopes. It was very exciting. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I kind of come from the direct marketing world too. I was a conference producer, but we were very much direct mailers. Like, we had our conference brochures that we would mail out. We were database marketers essentially.
Okay.
So we were, hitting that database. We actually would say that. How many times are we going to hit our list? Hit them. I'm like, why are we hitting them? But yeah, database marketers and telemarketers for sure in that last job. And it was intense. Okay. So it was super intense for you. Long hours. You weren't really seeing your child. Totally get it. Raised by the nannies. I used to live in New York City too. And so my first son was born there. And I never went back full time after he was born. And I was working for myself at that point. But I remember there was just like a nanny society there. Like, that's just what it was. People were you knew they were pushing somebody else's kid in that stroller. And, there's nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't happen as much in other places. Like, it was just because I didn't grow up there, so I was so not used to that. And you really have to ask yourself, is this what I want? Is this the way I want to do it? Because there's, lots of different ways that we can do it. And so for you jumped at the opportunity to start fresh, quit that job, and go to Nashville.
Yes. And I thought, and in fact, we were even putting off having another child in New York because we couldn't afford it. It was so expensive. And so as soon as we got to Nashville, I got pregnant. I mean, like that week or something. Yeah. It was so fast. And then I had my second son here. So I had a newborn and a 2.5-year-old, new city, no friends, no roots, and staying home full time, which again, I thought was going to be the dream. And I was miserable. I was so lonely. And it was different than New York City. You don't just walk out and there's people. There was like no one
Right.
around. I didn't know anybody. You don't do the stroller life. Um, so within, I don't know, 6, 9 months, and then I had a really colicky, difficult child too on top of it. And so it
Mm-hmm.
was just not in a good place. And pretty quickly, I mean, within that first year, I knew like I had to do something. I had to do something else, even though, of course, I love being a mom and all that. But I knew I didn't want to go back to corporate because all I knew was New York. Maybe it would have been different
Mm-hmm.
here, but that's all I ever knew was New York. So that's kind of where my entrepreneurial journey started, really just out of, not that I was always dreaming of being an entrepreneur, but it was just sort of out of necessity. I was like, well, I got to do something. And that's how,
Right.
you know.
Right. Which is what it is for a lot of women. We just say, I want to work and I need to work, for my brain. Like, and I was like you. I knew I didn't have what it took to be a full on stay at home mom. Like, and it wasn't in the cards for me either financially, honestly. And that was a gift because I knew that, again, like my brain just needed some stuff to chew on, outside of motherhood, in addition to motherhood. But yeah, what could you do that would allow you to be fulfilled, to do work that you cared about, but that didn't mean that you weren't seeing your kids all day and they were being raised by the nanny, kind of like the same situation that you're in before. And so how did you find your way? How did you navigate that?
Well, I did what anyone else would do, and I got on the Google, and I downloaded books. I started reading a lot of things about, exactly what you just said, finding your way, what's my purpose, what am I good at, all those the strengths finders, all those kinds of things. And I actually started a business that I'm not in right now, but it was like an event type business, and
Mm.
that kind of played to a lot of my strengths, and did that for a couple of years and sold that, and but finally found my way to what I ended up being more of my career, which was organization.
Hmm.
During this time, because we'd moved here together. It was like the chaos of it all. We actually got married and were pregnant very quickly, and again
Hmm.
with the big job and all that. So there was a lot to sort of just organize in my life, to get control of again, to streamline, to get systems in place. 2 little kids, all of that. And so it was funny, as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do on the side, I was doing all this stuff about like organizing our life and getting our finances in order, just all that.
Hmm.
And it was about 3 years later, and I was like, gosh, I'm really good at that, actually. Maybe
Hmm.
that's what I could be doing.
Hmm.
Um, and that kind of just spread I planted the seed and the idea. And so when I started, I actually started as a photo and video organizer. It was a real
Hmm.
niche because at that time I was scrapbooking. This is like such a suburban thing we do. Like I didn't even know what a scrapbook was when I was in New York City, but I came here and I was like, oh, I got the scrapbook. I guess I'm home. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I started making all these digital books, and I was really into all the photo stuff. So I started this business, but I would say it was still more of a hobby than a
Hmm.
business. I mean, I was certainly getting paid, but it was like, I just got to do enough while the kids are in preschool so I can like pay my Target bill. It was like never
Right.
any big aspirations. It was just like, something to do to keep my mind busy for a few hours. But as I started getting into that more, people would ask me about naturally would then ask me about organizing other areas of their home because I was in their home doing their photos, and so it slowly led to that. And I love doing all that stuff in my house. That was so much fun.
Hmm.
And from there, just started getting involved in the Association of Professional Organizers, joined our chapter here, started getting accredited. It just one thing led to another, and I became very passionate about it.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, but then one more change, but it wasn't that soon after I was working in people's homes, helping them transform their lives, getting rid of clutter, that it didn't take me too long, like not more than a couple of years, to realize what I really loved of that part was the coaching and training more than that hands on.
Hmm.
Because I always say it was like leaning versus learning. When you're in people's homes and they're wonderful and they see this amazing transformation, but I didn't feel like they were learning it from me. I was kind of doing it
Doing it
for them.
for them.
So
Hmm.
they were leaning on me. But then when I
Mm.
started I just started with some local workshops, like in my kids' elementary schools and the preschools and the library. And I was teaching these things, and people are scribbling notes and they're asking questions. And like you could tell they were really learning it and absorbing it. And really from just doing a few of those, it was like a light went off. And I was like, this is what I love. I love the organization part, but I want to do it in a way that I'm teaching.
Right, right. Yeah, I get you. That teaching piece is absolutely huge. And if we have that piece inside of us. Like if we just love to educate, then it scratches this itch that we have that allows us to feel like we're really contributing. And I hear you that you're showing your student, your customer, your client, like whatever you want to call them, how to do it for themselves, how to take control of themselves. Okay, so then how did you make that transition from actually, being in someone's home, like being the doer, letting them lean on you, to spreading this word as more of that trainer and that teacher?
So like I said, I started with just the local kind of workshops and training, just really small little things around town, which sort of just started building my confidence, and I started getting good feedback. And I saw that, there was one, I think where my gift really lies in educating is that I can really simplify these seemingly overwhelming or complicated issues or challenges. I could really simplify them down to really doable, simple, step-by-step little baby tasks that people could get their arms around, wrap, and do it. And then and see like instant gratification, immediately see action from them. So if they started getting good feedback, that's when it was about that time that I was like, okay, this is where I want to focus. And how do we do that? And I was working with my husband a lot at that time, and we were just thinking about how do we make this a different type of business? How do we scale this? How do we go, and at that time then I, of course, invested in Forleo's B School. And I think that just kind of switched everything for me. I think even just taking her course and seeing, oh yeah, you can do it all online, and, you can reach people everywhere around the world and empower women everywhere. And so that kind of was the first step, I'd say, into that whole journey. And then I started creating some online courses and blogging and doing videos, just a lot of those other things that start naturally, just organically growing in your business. But I think that was really the starting point for me.
Yeah, well, you realized that you needed to learn, so you went through like one of the biggest, programs, which is B School, teaching you how to have that online business. What are the tenets? How do you have a course? What's content? How are you, attracting leads, that sort of thing. And what were those like? What were some of those first moves that you made, other than investing in that program? Like, did you launch a course? Did you just start blogging consistently? Like, what were those kind of initial moves that you made to set up this online business so you could be more of that teacher?
So I was blogging at that point. I think just before I took her program, I started blogging, and then I got very consistent about it during that. And then I started doing video blogs. And so for about 3 years, I did almost every week a video blog. I mean, that would be more than 2 or 3 years. So anyway, about over 250 video blogs.
Good.
So that was really consistent. There's a whole evolution of that as well, kind of like starting from my iPhone till at the end I had a studio with a videographer. So
wow. Are you still doing those?
I'm not. I hear a lot of people say they miss them, but it just was one of those really, really, really hard decisions. Probably one of the hardest decisions I made in my business was to let go of that, just simply because it was the time commitment, and it was holding me back from some of the other ways in which I was ready to expand. So I still blog every week, but I'm writing.
You're writing. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's really good to talk about that, because I know a lot of our listeners are figuring out, how do I want to be doing this? Like what, should it be video blogging? Should I have a podcast? Should I just be doing written blogs, or just having like freebies that I'm creating and lots of free challenges, all this different stuff. So you committed to it for several years, and it evolved in terms of the level of kind of complexity that was involved and the investment on your side as well. And then you got to a point, it was like a tipping point, where you realized you were done, like you had graduated.
Yes. And I even actually just kind of took a break. I said, okay, when I went from that, I said, I'm just going to send out a once a month newsletter kind of thing, because I just really needed a break from it.
Yep.
I probably did that for about 3 months, and now I'm back to that weekly, because I really missed it. People miss me, which was really nice. And I realized I think that was a really good time for me, that break, and I had to just reassess some things. But I'm really enjoying it. I think that's almost sometimes when like, the video started to feel like such a chore for me, and I was starting to dread it. And and I can't necessarily put my finger on it because I had it down to such a science. I was batching them all. I was writing all the scripts. I had all my out, I had the videographer. He was doing the editing. I'm not sure what it was exactly, but there was something about it that I just wasn't loving anymore. And it was that chore type feeling. And now that I've gone to writing again, and maybe it's just an evolution. Maybe it'll go up and down. Maybe after 2 years, I'll be like, I feel like doing videos again. That's what's igniting me. But right now, I have so many ideas for writing that I have no shortage of ideas right now. And I'm not dreading it. I look forward to it. So there was something in that switch. Maybe it was the break. I'm not sure, but it just feels really good right now.
Yeah, and I think you've got to follow those impulses. I'm glad you shared that story, and I want our audience to take in, like, what are you all working on right now that does feel like that chore, that does feel like I just don't want to do this anymore. For me, it was last year. My podcast we've been publishing, gosh, when this goes out, it'll be like a year and a half, that we've been podcasting. When I launched, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to do 2 episodes a week. Totally. And I did, I committed to that. And we went hard on that for about, I want to say 9 or 10 months. And then I got to the point where I just said, I want a summer, like I have kids and I want to be with them. And so I said, for the month of August, I'm going to scale back to 1 episode a week and kind of change it up when I do, an interview and then a solo with me, and then an interview episode and then a solo with me. And when I took that breather, I had this amazing idea for this other initiative we were going to do with the podcast that I didn't have space to conceive of before, when I was just so on the hamster wheel. And then, as we moved into, this year in 2017, I realized wait, it was going to shift again. And so I moved into, kept the weekly, but just interviews. And so I really am not doing solos anymore. I'm giving more juice to our membership community. We're launched a membership community in 2017. And so that's where that's going. I'm putting that over there. The energy that I was putting over here, I'm just redirecting it. And then I decided to actually layer in video blogging, because I had not done that yet. That was something that I really just hadn't done. But what I'm going to do, because I realized a big piece, and it sounds like this is where you got to as well, you love to write, you're good at it. It gives you something. There's something about writing. That's why I had to write my book a few years back. I just needed to. It was oh my God, I have to do this. And so who knows how it will go as we really implement and execute. But the idea is that we're going to be doing twice a month video blogs, and then written blogs the other 2 weeks, and just really, current. I'm writing it right then. I don't really care if it's leading to something else. It's just me being straight up authentic Jenny, real, without kind of marketing, what's the next step? What's the call to action? It's just, this is what I need to do to feel fully expressed in the business. And so I want our listeners to understand, yeah, you have to think about things from a marketing perspective and know how things are leading, and what's your return on your investment from the energy and any money that you're putting forward into it. But when everything just becomes a chore, and you just feel I have to do this because so and so's waiting, but you realize, wait a second, this is some free thing that I do, and who's going to come get you? The video blog police, because you stopped video blogging for a period of time. You have to get honest about that, or else you'll just lose the joy that you have for the business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's funny, I would say I've gotten a bunch of emails just from subscribers on my email list, and who said something to the effect, I'll bring it down to one message, but basically that I feel your energy now. I feel new energy. But they'll say it in different words. They'll say it in different ways, but that's ultimately what it comes down to. Oh, your writing is so different, or you're so, I love how you've been doing this now. Or so there is something that, you're right. Clearly I was missing, or what, I don't know what. Like I said, I can't put my finger, but this is just really re-energized the way I'm doing it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, okay. So now you're really doing weekly blogs, you said?
So weekly blogs. And so that's so this is now yet another evolution, because you know how our businesses are constantly evolving and changing, and we're always expanding. And so in the last, how long has it been? About a year, a little less than a year. I've also now been working with a lot of entrepreneurs, which, seems to happen a lot. It's you get really great at, or, you're working in your zone of genius, I guess, for a while, and then you start building your business. And, other people start asking you about it. And so it was funny. A lot of the people, entrepreneurs that I hang out with were not organizers. Like in my community, I mean, I'm part of NAPO, which is the National Association of Professional Organizers here, but all the other networking groups and women's organizations and all that kind of stuff, there was no one else. So I was really hanging out with a lot of other industries, right? A lot of other organizers, or excuse me, a lot of other entrepreneurs in other industries.
Mm-hmm.
And I would start talking to them about, well, they knew I was organizing, and they'd ask me things about how to organize their to-do lists. How do you structure your blog schedule?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do things with your resources? What do you use for your technology? How do you keep things tracked with your finances and your employees? All these different questions.
Mm-hmm.
And they were really always about some type of routine, process, system, workflow, organization type thing, because that's what I did. And of course, it was just being implemented in my business. So I've expanded my services and I'm working a lot with that now, with those types of clients, which is also, I think, again, just maybe also added to the reigniting of my energy and my passion. And it's just like, oh, this is so much fun too, because again, it's something, it sort of organically happened, it sort of naturally happened, and then it sort of becomes an extension of who you are and what you can bring into the world. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's interesting how the business evolves as you evolve and as you let go of what's not serving you or step into the next level of your work. It's like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't realize I'd be doing this, but this is awesome. Of course I'm doing this. So how do clients really find you? Let's talk about that, because that's where a lot of my community is right now. It's like, okay, I have a lot of coaches, I have a lot of consultants, healers, guides, just people who want to grow an empire, whatever that empire looks like, online, really leveraging technology so you can have clients and customers all over the world. And many of them say to me, Jenny, how do I get clients? Like, how do I do this thing? How do I get this baby off the ground? Because they're good at what they do, but that part is just kind of like they feel a little wonky around that. So how do you find clients? How do those clients find you?
So I think you really got to focus. And I'm sure people have heard this before, but have consistent focus on a few good things, right? A few things. And sometimes you don't know what the good things are until you try it. So that's what kind of sucks about starting, is because you have to test stuff. You have to test it. You have to see, again, how do you feel about it? What's the response? Is it energy good? Is it speaking to people? So there are the things like blogging, there is video blogging, there's podcasting, there's Instagram, there's Pinterest, there's speaking, right? But you kind of just have to test the waters and something that resonates with you, and then just narrow it down to a couple, or a few, like two, no more than three, but I think two is maybe ideal. So for me, like Facebook is where I'm probably most active. I'm now loving Facebook Live, and I think that's sort of taken my video stuff has gone there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel very comfortable on it. But on the other hand, I'm not a Pinterest person. Just can't seem to get into it. Just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. I can't. I've tried over and over. So I'm just not going to force it, And my audience is mostly hanging out on both of those, on Pinterest and Facebook. But Facebook is where it's working for me, and I feel good. So I definitely get a lot of leads there, in the sense of I'm always adding value. I'm doing my little Facebook Lives or tips or posting my blog posts there, doing free challenges, and then asking people to opt into your freebie. Like, I think we forget that doesn't only live on your website or only on the bottom of your blog post. So at least once a week, I'll post that on my Facebook, because you always have new eyes. Like, new people are always liking your page. And then, as we know, unless you are advertising, a lot of times only 1/25th of your whole audience is even seeing it. So it might be a difference the week after and the week after. So I've actually found a lot of my opt-ins come from Facebook, but you've got to be really consistent of providing value, even if it's a quote or forwarding someone else's blog post. It doesn't have to be like you have to come up with some brilliant idea every day, but you also want to consistently direct people towards you, to your free thing, to your free challenge, to some way to connect with you. That was one for me. Of course, when I was doing my videos, my YouTube channel was big. I was really growing on YouTube, so that was another big place for me. And now, like this podcast, I love podcasts. And
Yeah.
again, you do what you love, what feels good to you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it clearly is a place where you can find your audience.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a conversation if that's something you really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
If you like just talking and adding value, then that's a great place, and you can get a broad reach. But I think ultimately it comes down to test a bunch, and then narrow it down to a couple, and then
Mm-hmm.
just be consistent about it.
Yeah, right. Consistent. And you really do have to, go for it. Like really be in there. And it can feel a little scary at first to just like try stuff. But when you take that experimentation energy into the work, then you bring that playfulness, that curiosity. Like I wonder what's going to happen. When I commit to 6 months of podcasting or 6 months of video blogging or like consistent written blogs or just doing Facebook Lives every week or, whatever it is, like just to play with that and then really look at your data, look at the results, and also check in with yourself. How do you feel? Like, are you loving it or do you hate it? Like, is it just the worst and you don't want to do it anymore? And so it's such an important way to look at how we play in this game. So let's talk about like the hard stuff. What's the hardest part of being an entrepreneur?
Ooh, the mindset work, all that babbling and talking and
Mm-hmm.
putting down and negative self-sabotage. It's like always there. Um, I'd say for me, that's absolutely the hardest. It's kind of funny how you said that you started this podcast saying put one foot in front of the other, just to get up every day, even when it sucks or didn't go the way you wanted, or you didn't get the results, or you're scared, or you have fear, and
Mm-hmm.
just to put one foot in front of the other and just keep going and not let those voices overtake you, and really fighting that resistance. And I think that's kind of where a lot of your faith comes in,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of kind of just maybe spiritual practices or just other
Mm-hmm.
types of practices that calm you, that mend you, that heal you, that, remind you and reinforce those positive messages and how far you have come and the risks that you are taking and,
Mm-hmm.
and the growth that you're having and the development and, all of that. So I think for sure that has just been the hardest part.
Mm-hmm. I hear you on that. Speaking of spiritual practices, what do you do? How do you stay grounded and faithful?
So I do kind of I guess, one of these morning routines as much as I can. And I actually have a very organized, structured way to do it.
Of
I
course
basically
you
just have,
do.
well, because it's funny because I am all about just having to have something visual, like
Mm-hmm.
or having as many reinforcements as you can. I guess that's what it
Yes.
is. Like doing,
Yes.
like just, don't just have it in your head. Don't just write it down. Put the little, we have checklists or like
Yeah.
score
Mm-hmm.
sheets for our kids. Like do it for yourself, so I have this little spreadsheet that it just stays up it's on a Google Doc, and it has like the 5 things I want to do every day, and then I rate myself at the end of the week. So it's kind of a like it has percentages. So like if there's 5 things, I do 20% every day, for 5 days a week, then I'll get to 100%. But if I've only done 4 of them, it's 80%, 3 of them, 60%. So at the end of the week, I can really rate myself. And this is how we're talking about data, right? Like we're looking at your data and
Mm-hmm.
say, where am I tracking? And then how does that affect how I'm feeling? So I
Mm.
looked at that. And so certain things and they're all very, very, very simple. I can do all of them in like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I mean, so, I do a morning lemon water.
Mm-hmm.
I make a green juice, and I don't always have it in the morning, but just have it ready. So I have it at some point during the day. I do a 10 to 20-minute meditation app. It just depends on what I have time for, but it's just a guided meditation I do with an app on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I do that. And I use the Freedom Journal, just John Lee
Mm-hmm.
Dumas's entrepreneur. I
Mm-hmm.
write in there, which takes about 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I try to do some type of exercise. So that's actually the longer one. That's a 30 to 45 minutes, depending, or up to an
Right.
hour, depending on what I'm doing. All the other ones combined, I mean, in 20 minutes, I can get it done. But yet it's amazing how many times I won't do it. I'll like sleep, I won't get it done until I started tracking it and doing that spreadsheet. And that has just
Mm.
really helped me, because then I can see at the end of the week, okay, well, maybe this is why I hadn't had a great week. Well, I only did it 60% of the time. I
Yep.
only had my green juice times this week, or I missed my meditation, three of those days or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
um, so for some reason, that has just really helped me kind of have that
Mm-hmm.
visual reinforcement there and track.
Oh my God, I love that. That's freaking smart. Using a Google spreadsheet for that. Love it. And most of your things, I'm like, yep, that's totally me. I do have the Freedom Journal. I met John a few years back. He was the one who inspired me to do this podcast. It's all his fault.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome.
We both were speaking at this cool. It wasn't even like it was a summer camp for entrepreneurs called Camp GLP, which was put on by Jonathan Fields. So we were both speakers there, and he was talking about podcasting. And I mean, I just heard him talk, and I'm like, that's it. I have to do a podcast. I'm totally doing a podcast. So he's great. Yep, he is the creator of the Freedom Journal, and all these things. I drink my warm water with lemon every morning. But gosh, my husband sometimes still forgets to get lemons from the store, like because he does the grocery shopping, and he'll come back and he has everything. And my thing is, I'm like, just lemons, seltzer, and flowers. If you just get me those three, like I'm good. I'm good. It gets everything else that we need too. But those are my that's the trifecta. That's the trifecta for me. And so the last time he went, 2 out of the 3, I'm like, where are the lemons? I just feel like lemons. That's my favorite fruit because it is so versatile. Like it goes with everything. It really does.
It is so good. So
Such a
good.
good fruit. It's such a good fruit. I mean, when you think about it, it's the best. It really is. I might get a lemon tree. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Just as an aside, just talking about your lemon water, I'm like, I feel you on that. Totally feel you on that. Okay, so let's talk about India. So where were you born in New York? Were you born in India? Were you born someplace else?
I was born in India, in New Delhi. My parents moved to New York when I was 6 weeks old. So as soon as my
Whoa.
travel, so essentially I'm a New Yorker. Like I grew up in New York, but yeah, I was born there. So
Wow.
yeah,
And
yeah.
how often have you gone back in your life?
So growing up, we went back a lot. Like if my parents could afford it, we'd go every summer. If not, every other summer,
Hmm.
because that's they were immigrants and that's where all their family was. And back then, the only way you could communicate was through a telegram. You couldn't just call up, and so it just they just wanted to get back there as often as they could. So probably about every other summer growing up.
And what they moved to the States, did more
They moved from my dad.
opportunities?
My dad has been an entrepreneur his whole life, and just for the American dream, just
The
to live a better.
American dream. Okay, and so what is India? Because we're recording this early 2017, but I'm going to India in May. This is airing. We have it scheduled sometime in the spring. What is India? What is India?
Okay, so what part are you going to?
Oh, all over. Like I'm flying into Goa and it's a tour. It's a tour. And
Okay,
so people ask me, I'm like, I don't know, a bunch of places that somebody coordinated for me. And
okay.
so it's very much has like yogic roots. I'm learning more about Ayurveda, meditation. I'm learning and touring the country, going to the Taj Mahal, the whole thing. So I'm just like ever since I read Eat, Pray, Love 10 years ago, I knew I'd go to India. Then I trained to become a yoga teacher. I'm like, I will go to India because I love yoga. I know it's the birthplace of yoga. It's the source. And so I'm turning 40 this year, and I felt this extreme call. It was like it's time. It's time to do this. And so I'm excited, and I'm also nervous.
Well, it's a great thing you're going with a tour, so I'm glad you're doing that. And it sounds like an awesome one, like a really good
It
integration of
is. It's
things.
like nice. I looked at all the places because I
Yeah,
don't rough it well. Like that's not
yes,
my thing.
it's a
I'm
rough,
not a
but
roughing it person. I don't even really camp. So
okay.
I looked at all the places. I'm like, okay, these are like my style. This is I do.
Yeah.
Some places are like tentelos, which are like tent bungalow things. Which I'm like, I could do a tentalo. I could do that. But anyway, it is. It's my speed for sure. But just like the country itself, what was it for you? Like, what is the energy of India, and what makes it India?
Well, it's just such an extreme contrast of people.
Hmm.
I think that is, I imagine, what will stand out the most in the
Hmm.
sense there's such extreme poverty and
Hmm.
such extreme abundance, like
Hmm.
extreme. I mean, so not sure exactly the places you're staying, but if you go stay in these nice hotels, they are full marble, head to toe, like nicer than any five-star hotel will ever have in the States. They're just gorgeous,
Hmm.
over the top. You go to the Taj Mahal. It is truly one of the most breathtaking places I think in the world. but you walk out. I mean, literally, you walk out of the gates, and it's just it's the poorest, most poverty-stricken
Hmm.
place. Like your heart is melting, you're dying, you're kind of like you're swarmed with people around you because they're begging for money. It's not like any type of poverty I've seen in the
Right.
US anywhere. So
Right.
I think that is to me like the as especially as an adult. I think when you're a kid, I don't know, you just go and you're visiting your cousins. I'm not really paying attention to all that as much, but going back as an
Right.
it it is such a it's so hard to kind of just to see and to understand it and like make sense of it all. It's very stimulating because on one hand, again, it's beauty and color and culture, and then you just turn like you turn your head on the other side of the road, and it's like just people defecating all over the streets,
Hmm.
and it's just it's a very
Hmm.
it's two very extreme
Hmm.
worlds in city, like on one street, on one corridor. Like that's what's amazing about it.
Yeah. 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 I've
So
heard that very much like from people. And I think that's what I knew I was meant to get there, and I was always wondering how's that going to work? Like, how will I get there? Because my husband had zero desire to go. Like, he wouldn't go, and so as this opportunity made itself available, and my one of my oldest girlfriends from like way 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 back were going together, and so I have my little like travel companion. It's all lining up, but I know it's going to be a very intense trip. And what you said, extreme contrast, is that's cool. That's really cool, and not easy to witness, but
yeah,
where else in the world like those extreme contrasts, and how can you kind of hold that? I think that's really like the root of yoga and like meditation. Like, how can you maintain a comfortable seat when you're in an uncomfortable position? Like, how can you find your way through the challenge? And this year in particular in the United States, like, oh my gosh, it's just intense. Like, there is like extreme contrast going on right now. Like, extreme, like, that's it. We are in it. We are totally in it. And so how can we be in that and remember to breathe? How can
yeah,
we remember that, you know what, it's all going to be okay? And how can we play our part in making it okay?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
you're gonna love it. I mean, and especially that you're, of course, when I go, it's again, like I said, we're visiting cousins, we're
Hmm.
visiting. So I didn't grow up with any type of let's go do yoga, let's do
Hmm.
meditation. I mean, the everyday person is not doing that. It's just life
Hmm.
like anywhere else. It's just everyone's going to work and everyone's going to school,
Yep.
and so it's really nice. It's really I would love to actually if I always say when I go back and do a trip again as an adult,
Hmm.
we haven't been there for years, but I want to do it that way, like a part of a tour that they really bring in the types of things that I didn't see because I was
Right.
growing up seeing family, which was great and it was wonderful, and I have those
Hmm.
memories forever, and it's always the dearest to me. But I didn't see that other part, I guess, that experience of India. So
Exactly, exactly. Well, I will let you know how it goes for me. I will let you know. It's like a rite of passage. It definitely
yes,
feels like that. So, where can our listeners, how can they stay in touch with you, find out more about you? Where do you want to guide them?
well, come on over to Life is Organized on Facebook. Like I said, I'm really active there. Or come join me on my website, lifeisorganized.com. So I have my home online workshops and training and really awesome ways to streamline and declutter.
Hmm.
And you can get a 5-day free organization video if you want over there. And that's lifeisorganized.com/freebie, FREEBIE. Or you can also get information on sort of how do you streamline and declutter and make your business organized, right? If you're like, I'm overwhelmed with all these to-do lists and everything that's on my plate all the time, and I need to make more room and space and grow my business, then you can come on over to the business side of it. And there's a freebie over there. That's lifeisorganized.com/forward slash Jenny. And that's 21 powerful productivity tips to grow your business.
Nice. Okay, everybody, hop over there, and we'll have all those linked up on our show notes page. You can go to jennyfennig.com and type in the name of this episode or Mridu Parikh, and you will find it all there. We got you hooked up. All right. Well, you are a gutsy woman. You moved to Tennessee from New York.
That's
That's
right.
gutsy. I did it the opposite way. I went from Florida and Georgia to New York, so I like reversed it, and now that was gutsy. And now I'm in Massachusetts. But I want to know the answer to our finale question. What's the gutsiest move you've ever made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
So when I was thinking about this, I thought like the immediate quick answer was, oh, becoming an entrepreneur. right? That's like the gutsiest thing I did.
Mhm.
But in thinking about it, I was like, you know what? That really wasn't, because when I did it, I had complete financial backing and support of my husband. Like I really had a safety net. I never had to really worry about it, which is why, like I say, I started off as a hobby and then
Mhm.
slowly got myself into it. So I don't actually think necessarily that becoming an entrepreneur was the gutsiest.
Mhm.
So now that I think about it, I'd say, and this is not to be taken the wrong way, but a good way, but I would say marrying my husband. And
Mm.
because we only knew each other for 2 months, we dated, we were 30s, we're little bit older, but,
Mhm.
the day we dated, like we met each other till we got engaged was 2 months. And
Mm.
then 3 months later, we were married. And a month later, I was pregnant. So in 8 months, I met him. We dated, engaged, married, and pregnant. And the way that so it obviously took a lot of faith in that,
Mhm.
and it's 14 years later, we're going strong, everything's great. But now that I think about it, that is paved the way of so many of my choices and decisions I made over the rest of my life in terms of my business and my life, in the sense that when I really go back and think about how I made that decision to be with my husband, was
Mhm.
one, we just took all the facts, right? Did all the research. Like in this very compressed period of time, we basically were together every day for these 2 months, where I met his friends and his family, and we traveled together. I mean, it was intense. It was crazy, but I learned so much about him: his kindness, his generosity, his heart, the types of friends he had. So it was like I took all that information, but then I took a leap of faith and I believed in my gut. And I think those three things, like if I put that together, that is like how I guide my life now. It's like I have
Mhm.
all the information,
Mhm.
you do all your research, you do everything with the best of knowledge that you can,
Mhm.
but then you do what feels right to you, and then you have your faith.
Mhm.
And I think that is really what has led me to where I am today.
Beautiful story. I love that. I love that. And that, sometimes we do have to just buck the trend. And like, who says you have to date for a year before you can, get engaged? There's all these kind of preconceived rules and mores and things. And when you get to that point where you just say, you know what? This feels right, and we're going for it. And I mean, let's be straight, marriage has a 50-50 shot anyway. So
Of
like,
course.
what do you
Right, right.
it's just like roll the dice, roll the dice. And I'm actually on your Facebook page now, and you guys look so cute with your two
Oh.
boys. How and so your boys are close in age, right? Like, what's the
So
gap?
they're 10 and 13, 2.5 years.
2.5. Okay, so that's like my boys. I have two sons who are 27 months apart, and then my daughter is she's 3 years younger than my middle guy. So that's been an adventure. They keep you on your toes, right?
Oh, for sure. Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations on your beautiful family and your business, and continuing to stay gutsy and listening to your intuition about, what to let go or what to push pause on and play with some other stuff. I mean, I think when we found the work that we love to do, we want to continue doing it. Like some people, yeah, I think old school was like, oh, you just look forward to retirement. Like, I don't I'm not looking forward to that. Like I'm not counting down the days. I love what I do. And when you can shape it in a way that just works for you, just works. It works for your family, works for your health, then you've hit the jackpot.
I feel the same way. I'm like, what is that? Why is that retirement thing so, like, why does everyone look forward to that so much? I
I know that
can't
sucks. I'm
imagine.
like, you just worked in a job
Yeah.
that all you wanted to do was count down until you were done. Like
Yeah.
that's just, I feel bad, but it was an old way of working. You worked in
It was.
somebody else's office, somebody else's rules. You had 2 weeks of vacation, maybe three, maybe four, like maybe, and
Right.
and and that was that. So it's a new way of working. So thank you so much for being here. You're a breath of fresh air. Love your energy. I'm excited to see what you create in 2017. And to all you listeners out there, thanks so much for being a part of this journey. I know you got at least one gorgeous nugget that you are going to apply this week into your business and into your life and into this spiritual world that we are all living in. This is Jenny Fennig sending you so much love, light, and faith as you get gutsy. I will see you next time.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Get Gutsy with Jenny Fennig. Gutsy leaders unite and ignite.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Get Gutsy as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. Are you responsible for leading and growing your spiritual business? If so, I have a free tool for you that will help you spread your message like wildfire. It's called the Sacred Marketing Puzzle, and it's a one-page PDF guide that simplifies the often mysterious and confusing world of marketing. When you use sacred marketing tools to amplify your message, you'll provide huge value to your tribe and grow your business. What are you waiting for? Go to jennyfennig.com/puzzle to get yours instantly. That's jennyfennig.com/puzzle. Gutsy leaders, unite.